Namaste, good evening. This is Dr. Aparna. I am an Ayurvedic neuropsychotherapist, a passionate Ayurveda psychotherapy, Bhagavad Gita, and neuroscience infopreneur, founder Global Neuromind Veda. So, the other day we were discussing about psychocybernetics. Today we will continue the discussion on what the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, teaches us. See, Psycho-Cybernetics utilizes a mechanical perspective of your brain and body's activity to create a new system of thinking and behaving. So, this book, as we discussed, was originally written by a plastic surgeon turned self help author, Dr. Maxwell Maltz. So, this book explores the power of the mind and its impact on our success and happiness, as well as failures and unhappiness. So, it offers techniques and exercises to reprogram our subconscious mind and improve our self image. So what are we going to learn? How your self image and patterns of thinking impact everything you do. Your self image determines your self worth. So, how to improve your life by changing your habits and thoughts, how to turn setbacks and failures into progress and success. See, psycho-cybernetics is full of powerful ways to get out of a rut and reach your full mental capacities. So, what is self image? See, usually your self image defines your self worth. See, this might sound like an overly obvious answer. See, self image is exactly what it sounds like. It's an image we construct about ourselves to help us figure out who we are. So, self image is the mental blueprint of who we believe we are. So, it is built from our past experiences, successes, failures, and beliefs. So, it's a kind of like what you would do if you were a writer and you were brainstorming a new character. So, to help contextualize the character for yourself and for your readers, what you do is you would identify a few characteristics about yourself. If you are supposedly if you are a female, so she's passionate, she's funny, she's determined, and she loves cheesecake. This is what you are, contextualizing yourself, or you believe what you are. But she also struggles with anxiety, being chronically late, and tells a lot of white lies to protect the feelings and people around her. This is what you conceptualize about you, self image, for example. So already you feel like you know that person, don't you? See, these what happens is self image is constructing a set of core beliefs, traits, values, and definitive experiences to image, to help themselves understand who they are. But what happens is sometimes we unintentionally misdirect the story, painting an overly negative picture of ourselves. Self image, we can paint ourselves as positive pictures and at times as negative pictures. So, the worst bit is that, like most lies, the lies we tell ourselves are often grounded, in the truth, and that's what makes them believe. Suppose, for example, if you fail a semester of college as a result of mental health struggles, so you might tell yourself that you are a complete failure, a loser who cannot do anything right. So this is the self image you build of yourself when you fail a semester of college, a semester exam of your college. So, see, this is an example what we call as all or nothing thinking, which is exactly what it sounds like. So this is that, like, unable to process the shades of gray that characterized most human experiences. People who practice all or nothing thinking think on spectrum of extremes. You think that you can do it all, or you think you can do nothing. So they don't see the shades of gray. See, they're either the worst person in the world or the best person in the world. This is the assumption. So the truth, of course, is far more complex and a lot less severe than that. So, in the example we just discussed, the truth is that you failed one semester exam. Sure, it is disappointing and it is not the outcome you hoped for. But it doesn't mean that you're a failure at everything, and it definitely doesn't mean that you are beyond hope. So rather than rewriting our self image to fit with this definition of failure, a better response is to acknowledge that this is simply a bump in the road and one you can overcome. That means, to bring this example home, the author considers the story of a man he once knew, who was insecure about his appearance. So we all can relate to that feeling. Everybody in one or the other way is insecure about his or her appearance. So because who doesn't feel who does we all feel insecure about ourselves from time to time. So difference in this case was where someone else might view those unpleasant feelings as a temporary crisis of self-esteem or something they needed to shrug off. This man sadly assumed that being ugly was just part of his identity. And because he couldn't get past his own feelings about his appearance, he assumed everyone else was focusing on them too. So he made the self image of him, being ugly was made by him. Every interaction, every life experience he had was filtered through the lens of focusing, lens of people must be judging because I am ugly. This was in his mind, that people must be judging him because he is ugly. But in reality, he was becoming a self fulfilling prophecy. No one treated him differently because of his looks. In fact, most people didn't even notice them or consider him to be ugly. But because he expected everyone to reject him, he was constantly on the edge and unpleasant to be around, and people responded to his unkind demeanor rather than his looks. So failure to realize this vital distinction meant that he assumed everyone was behaving exactly the way he thought they would, and his life went in a vicious cycle of sadness and misunderstandings. So, this example teaches us work on how you perceive yourself. Because, as I said in the beginning, your self worth, your self image determines your self worth. So, we have to always work on how we perceive ourselves. Next is, we always talk of the power of negative, positive thinking. So now here we in this book we are discussing the power of negative thinking. So sometimes what happens is negative thinking also can turn into a power. How? See, we've heard about the power of positive thinking. But what about the power of negative thinking? So the truth is that both can change your life, if you give them the freedom to do so, whether for good or for evil. So, what here the author takes the reference of a person. Let's consider that person as X. So, as a high school student, X struggled with math, and his teachers assumed that he was completely stupid when it came to arithmetics. So, this option was readily apparent in their interactions with X, and he got the message loud and clear. So his teachers used to say he was stupid at math, he would never understand it, he shouldn't even try to understand the arithmetics. So, but of course, as you have probably already guessed, the truth was that, this was simply another of the lies we tell ourselves. An unnecessary negative assessment that X erroneously wove into his identity. He thought that he cannot, he's not good at math and he should not, try. So but what happened is when he one day realized that he understood a complicated math problem, he was stunned. He must have gotten it wrong, he assumed, but it couldn't be that he really understood math. But he did, and his teacher confirmed that he had indeed hit upon the right answer. So the realization that dawned on him in that one moment had a profound impact on X's life. So when he understood that math problem, he realized that maybe the problem wasn't with him. Maybe he wasn't stupid or incapable of understanding math. Instead, perhaps the problem simply hadn't been explained to him in the right way before. So this was the problem. So he realized that right tools could help him grow, learn, and unlock an ability to understand math, and made all the difference with excess confidence. And the same is true for any negative beliefs you hold about yourself. Think and see. It is not that you, just because you cannot solve one problem or you failed in one math problem, it doesn't mean that you are stupid at maths. This is what, you know exactly, we suggest our brains and make a self image. So for another example is, if you believe that you are unlucky or unlovable or untalented, recognizing these negative beliefs, for the lies they are, can help you break free. When you acknowledge and recognize the negative beliefs for the lies that they are, it will help you. So the author believes that you can overcome negative thinking with the freeing power of rational thinking. So the first step is to recognize that what you believe about yourself is a feeling rather than a statement of fact. So, for example, a fact might be, for I that I asked that girl out on a date and she turned me down. So I feel sad. As a result of this circumstance, you might experience a thought or feeling like no one will ever want to go out with me. So I am ugly, I am unlovable. But as you can see from the difference in these examples, the latter is not a feeling. The latter is just a feeling and it is not a fact. See, if once somebody didn't, as in this example, come with you for a date, that doesn't mean that no one will ever want to go out with you. It is your feeling rather than the fact which you believe. And because it's only a feeling, it should never be absorbed into your identity as an intrinsic part of your self image. So instead, you should seek to accept that there is that it's a fleeting feeling, one which will pass and one which means nothing about your identity. So, in the psycho cybernetics, we explore the foundational principles of the self esteem and how it works. So it's time to take a closer look at what, psycho cybernetics is a theory which conceptualizes that the human brain as a type of computer and self esteem as the sort of software it runs on. Isn't it true? So we will discuss the rest in the next session. So that's it for today's session. Thank